This LoreHound.com video is brought to you by...
Number 1, read the line.
You will behold the glory of my sacred wood.
That's not him.
Okay. Number 2, read the line.
You will behold the glory of my sacred wood.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Number 3. You will behold the glory of my sacred wood.
That's him.
Every year, 1 in 5 gamers is accosted by an elf. We're tired of elves.
What's up, Lorehounds? We're back inside the Sony Online Entertainment booth. We're checking out DC Unlimited Online, DCUO.
DC Universe?
DC Universe. Oh, sorry.
That'll work.
Sorry, it's a long day. Anyways, we're here with Mark, the art director, and he's going to show us off the game. But, I mean, first, being the art director on DC's got to be pretty cool.
It is. It's a great job to start with. It's even better because we're working directly with DC. We're working with some of the greatest artists and writers in the comic book industry. So in this case, we're working really closely with Jim Lee. He's been on the project since day one. Huge MMO player, was giant into EQ2. So he really knows how to apply artwork to a game of this style. And we're working directly with him, you know, on an almost day-to-day basis.
So we see behind us, you're obviously keeping the comic book theme. I assume this is kind of like a Joker area from its look. How much influence, how much does it change, like point to point in the art-wise? So since you guys have so many properties that you're using.
Right, it's a huge universe. It covers a lot of range. So on one side, we've got someplace like Metropolis, much more clean, you know, sunshiny, very heroic, home of Superman. Then we've got Gotham City, very dark, you know, lots of nooks and crannies, lots of alleys, a lot grimier, a lot grittier. So it varies a lot, you know, and we try, like you said, this is a Joker's Funhouse area, so we try and make sure that those things are really identifiable. They relate back to the iconic things that fans of the comics know and love. And as well, for people that aren't into the comics, we also try and make sure and give you backstory, give you iconic places that you can use as reference and really get your feet wet in terms of the lore there.
So in the game, we're actually just another superhero or supervillain, right? We can be either?
You can be a supervillain, you can be a superhero. You're one that you create. So the idea is that this lets you build a legend in the DC universe of your own design. So we give you all the tools that you expect from an MMO, all the custom pieces for character create, all the gear drops and everything. And then we let you design your own powers. We let you load those out. We give you movement modes that give you that superhero fantasy. We give you weapons that give you that superhero fantasy. All those have abilities connected with them. They'll let you develop a character that's uniquely yours.
And the game is kind of the typical quest-driven game where we have like quests with story arcs and stuff like that, and then we go through them, and then we move on to the next quest, the next quest hub. So it's in that style?
Yeah, exactly. We have cases and capers in our case for heroes and villains. But yeah, it's very much the sort of quest-based system. We have some stuff that's open world, some stuff that's solo instance, group instance. We're also showing PvP. We have 8-on-8, 16-on-16 PvP that we're showing here. And what we're really trying to do is to make sure that everything relates back so that you feel like you're doing something that's either super heroic, super villainous, that actually relates to the world and the story as a whole, as opposed to kind of menial labor, right? So there's no mopping up of this or collecting fur from that. It's much more...
I like collecting fur.
If you like collecting fur, you're going to love knocking guys out.
Kill 10 rats over and over. So what... well, let's fire it up and do some action here. We see the UI is pretty clean, where there's not much here. We have the map. I assume that's your health over here, yep. And then there's just, what is that, 6 buttons, 7 buttons?
Yeah, that's right. You've got 8 different slots for abilities and items in your bar. On the controller, pulling L2 activates half of those abilities. Pulling the other trigger button gives you the other half. So we've got a few super abilities here. And then we've also, on the face buttons of the controller, square is your basic attack. There's actual combos there too. So there's no auto attack in our game. Everything is
all spelled or action driven. You have to actually hit stuff.
Absolutely. It's all action driven, and it's much more what you'd expect in an action game. We have a full combo system that develops over time as part of your weapon development and progression of that. So tapping square gives you his quick attack. Holding square gives you a bigger attack. Tap, tap, hold is different than tap, hold, or tap, 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 hold. So it's a very pick up and play kind of mechanic. There's enough depth there that you can string those combinations together.
Yeah, the combat sounds somewhat like a Devil's May Cry thing where, you know, it's tap, 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 and then hold, and that's the big finish kind of move.
Exactly. We wanted something where you weren't having to remember these huge button strings, but at any point you could pull out kind of a bigger move, kind of finish it off, or combo string. So there's a lot of depth there. There's a lot of depth within the superpowers, chaining those together and developing those over time as well as part of the progression.
But the game is classless, right? So you kind of just build your own character. You can pick out what you want your character to be able to do, so you're not, you know, specifically have to do just telekinesis the whole time. You can mix it a little.
You can mix it a little. So we do have some elements of a typical class-based system. Somebody like Nature is more of a healing class. Everybody does DPS. Even within Nature, there's different branches that you can go on with the talent trees, and you can branch that a little bit even within that class. A little bit of specialization there. Because we have progression on movement type and on weapon and on your power type, which is like gadgets if you're more of a Batman character, Nature if you want to be more like Harley or more like Poison Ivy or somebody like Beast Boy. There's a level of customization there that's sort of larger, but it all does go back in terms of group content and raid-in content. There are traditional roles there in terms of healer, tank, and control.
Okay, well, let's go beat up some bad guys.
So as we run down here, we see a few of the Joker goons. Again, it is all action, all the moment-to-moment combat, very visceral. Knock guys up. There's traditional combos, multi-hits. I can knock a guy up, knock a guy down. I also have my Trey abilities or my superpowers, which are much more like what you'd be used to in an MMO. As well, I can encase people. I can turn them into a physics object. I can pick this guy up. I can bang him down. I can throw him across the room and actually turn him into a physics object. So the world is really your playground. I also have ranged attacks and melee attacks. Objects in the environment, I can pick these up. I can throw those around as well. Beat this guy up with the large playground ball a little bit.
What's the maximum group size?
That we have not released at this point.
Is there going to be groups and then raids, so, you know, more than just a standard dungeon or instance? Or actually, what would you guys call them in, you know, the comic book universe?
We haven't come up with a name that we feel like does us justice yet. We're still working on that part of it, but grouping in the social part of an MMO is something that we really want to make sure that everybody gets to experience. So part of us making a pick up and play kind of accessible game is that we want to get people into those elements. We want to get them with their friends. So grouping in the raid content and getting people to the in-game content, which is some of the best parts of MMO, is really important to us, and making sure that more people than fewer get to experience that.
So you mentioned some PvP. Are the different factions, so the supervillains, superheroes, are they going to have like hometowns?
There are player cities. There aren't hometowns per se, but we do have the Justice League Watchtower for heroes, and we have the Hall of Doom for villains. And so those are more what you'd find in a player city. And you know, again, trying to provide all the things that this intellectual property provides to us in terms of delivering something that's really cool that you haven't seen that's really iconic to the DC license.
Hey, you guys have some quite a bit of material for future expansions and stuff like that. But first, we got to get the game out. So when's open beta and things of that nature coming along?
Open beta we haven't announced yet. We have announced a launch date. That's November 2nd, simultaneous launch on PS3 and PC, and that's worldwide.
And again, you can use the keyboard or the pad on either.
Absolutely. Choose your weapon. If you're more of an action-based person, the controller works great. Keyboard works great as well.
And they're both like fine to play with. I was playing with it before, and you can switch between the two, and it's not much of a challenge. And the D-pad, all you got to do is hit one button to choose your left side of your items up here, and then the other one, and you do your right one. And
yeah, we're definitely using every button we can get on the controller, but I think most people that are familiar with that interface do quite well. Same thing with keyboard, and it's seamless switching. You know, within the studio, we really try and make sure we play on both. We've got people that you know have their favorite, whether that's an action game or an MMO, and we really mix it up between them and make sure that that those are as competitive as we can make them.
Awesome! Can't wait to check it out. Thanks a lot.
All right, great. Thanks very much.